We have more for your ears only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Catherine Herzog with this news quote. How can no one at J.P. Morgan Chase be charged? That was Dennis M. Kelleher, an activist for tougher financial regulation, after the $23 billion a year banking giant agreed to pay just over $1 billion in fines for mishandling London trading and domestic credit cards, but with no action against any top executives. Also last week, the Security and Exchange Commission said it would propose that publicly traded companies be forced to disclose the differences in pay between top executives and employees. Now this.
Sometimes it's too late to save a man. We must move out before we join them in death. The mortifier means the MPLA is ready for attack. But there's a... They want a fight! We give them a fight! Move out!
Reports that the D.C. Navy Yard gunman was an often obsessive player of computer shooter games like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 raise the old question of whether interactive video violence breeds such bloody behavior in real life or simply appeals to those already so disposed. But the impact of new technology on humanity goes much further than that, from reshaping our capacity for memory, our sense of privacy and friendship, to empowering us on the job, but also making some jobs themselves more scarce.
Computer science professor and entrepreneur William Meisel deals with these and related issues in his new book, The Software Society. He's also executive director of the nonprofit Applied Voice Input-Output Society. And for your ears only, William Meisel joins us now. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We don't want to dwell on the D.C. shooting, but do you have an opinion on whether violent video games make players more violent in real life or more adept at real violence, like the training killer drone pilots get, or more desensitized to it?
I don't feel comfortable making video games a villain in this case or in general. I think you could argue that a video game is an outlet for violent impulses rather than encouraging them. Millions watch football, after all, which glamorizes violence, no computer required. In the case of the Navy Yard killer, he got real training in the Navy in killing. Video games weren't required.
That's true. You write about the vast store of knowledge at our command through computers and now smartphones that hear as well as speak to us. But are we losing personal memory and the humanity involved in remembering a loved one's telephone number, for instance, not to mention birthdays, anniversaries, and such? Are we becoming overly dependent and less human because of our reliance on this technology?
Personally, David, I'd rather use my memory to remember more meaningful things than phone numbers. We have a finite number of neurons in our brain. We can't plug in a memory stick. Computers and mobile devices are, in some sense, our external hard drives, extending our memory.
Beyond memory, there seems to be a new view of privacy, or perhaps it's publicity now, since we seem so willing to post all our likes and dislikes, products, people, and let the masters of the Internet track every purchase and perusal. What's your view on that? Is humanity's notion of privacy changing?
Well, in some sense, we pay for a lot of services by giving access to our personal habits, likes, and dislikes. If Google asked us to pay for web search, if we didn't want targeted ads, I suspect few people would choose to pay. So I don't think, I think it is a personal choice, and people seem to actually be making a choice to be more public.
Do you think this is a factor in the popular acceptance of what we're learning now to be widespread government anti-terror surveillance of phone and web communications?
As you suggest, there is a rather mild reaction to NSA surveillance, and it suggests that most individuals are willing to sacrifice some privacy in the hopes of preventing terrorism, I suppose.
Is there, I mean, your book really is about the culture and changes in humanity. Our notion of friendship has certainly been, if not changed, amplified by, these vast numbers of likes on Facebook and such. Has it changed the notion of what real friendship is? And are you surprised by some recent surveys that show that the people with the most number of friends on Facebook tend to have more anxiety about it, that it isn't as supportive as the sort of real eye-to-eye friendship that we had previously?
Well, I think that in some sense these tools provide us with more connections with more people and allow us to maintain more connections, and maybe that does in fact create stress. I mean, I wake up with, being on the West Coast, so many emails that I spend a long time going through them to make sure I'm not missing ones that are not simply press releases or other less personal emails. But I think that it's a tool that we can use to maintain more friendships. And the bottom line is, I think that we all have our more close personal friends that we do see more often, and I don't think that'll change.
Let's talk about the economic impact of technology, which has already put so many assembly line workers and middle managers out of work. You see that as a real factor in continued slow job and income growth, except at the highest levels. Talk a bit more about that.
Yes, historically, automation has made the economy more efficient. But there's a limitation to how far this can go that most classical economists don't seem to even take into consideration. If you take the extreme case where almost every job is automated and computer technology is making more and more jobs amenable to automation, who will buy the products the machines are making if no one has a job? That certainly seems to be an issue that needs to be addressed. And it's not an abstract future issue. I believe over-automation is behind the current slow economic recovery today. Low interest rates may help the economy in some ways, but they also make it cheaper to invest in new machinery to replace workers.
One solution you propose is an automation tax to make humans more competitive in the job market. Explain how that would work.
The automation tax I propose in my book rewards companies that generate their revenue by using more employees to generate that revenue and penalizes those that don't. The point is it provides a financial incentive to keep people.
Computer science professor and entrepreneur William Meisel is executive director of the nonprofit Applied Voice Input-Output Society. His new book is The Software Society.
People are spending all their time in cyberspace. It's got to learn its place. Get some control or you'll lose your soul.
Susanna McCorkle. Now this quote from the news: the internet equivalent of a political sign in one's front yard. That was an appeals court decision giving First Amendment protection to likes on Facebook.
Next, Gandolfini's Very Good Goodbye and other new releases for your ears only.